Today's episode is about pain, purpose, and perspective. My guest today is Matt King, the CEO of GoBundance, community built around the idea that successful men should live lives of adventure, accountability, and contribution. But Matt isn't sitting behind a desk right now. He's preparing to ride nearly 2,000 miles from Mexico to Canada in just over 2 weeks. Not for a race, not for a record, but to meet families along the way who are living one setback away from disaster. The mission is simple and powerful. Every dollar raised goes directly to the families they meet on the road, face to face, real time, no middleman. That means this ride isn't just a physical test, it's a collision between success and struggle, between privilege and perspective, between comfort and purpose. What happens when a successful entrepreneur leaves the boardroom, spends 2 weeks riding through pain, fatigue, bruises, and yes, some pretty brutal saddle sores just to help strangers? This conversation is about generosity, endurance, leadership, and the kind of challenges that change how you see the world. Matt, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, man. It's weird when you read the bio. It's incredibly humbling. It's also very grounding, but also powerful. Like I got chills hearing what we're up to and what we're about to embark on. And then when you start talking about like the miles and the days and the saddle sores, I'm like, what in the hell was I thinking? But it's an honor to be with you, man. I'm excited to dive into everything today.
Yeah, my first question, let's start there and then we'll go some other places. So you're about to ride 2,000 miles to meet families along the way. My first question is really simple. What happened in your life that made you decide this was necessary?
I think the thing that happened that helped me recognize that this ride, this mission was incredibly important to me was just being a father and watching my kids grow up. I have a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And as I try to father them or parent them, what I'm recognizing is they pay attention to more what I do and less about what I say. And so I thought, if I am setting the example for my children, then what can I do to give them permission that nobody else will give them, that they can do whatever they put their minds to? And I read this quote the other day that basically said, someday somebody will call your son and say, you are just like your father. And it's up to you to determine if that's a compliment. And so I thought about it and I was like, man, it's up to me to determine if when somebody tells my kids, you're just like your dad, if that's a compliment or not, then I better go live life that would be perceived as a compliment, which is one that gives them permission to do whatever they put their minds to. Be good humans and challenge the status quo for their life. Like just because people say you can't, just because people say you shouldn't, doesn't mean you can't do it and doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Like go do it. Go do whatever you want. And so, really the moment that hit me was looking at my kids and saying like, what will they say about their father? Looking at my wife and saying like, what will she say about her husband? And then asking myself like, what can I do to make the world a better place? But also, what can I learn about myself along the journey? And I thought, what better way to endure pain, suffering, heat, rain, hopefully not, tornadoes, hopefully not, but like what better way to learn about myself and learn about these communities and learn about people that need help than to get on a bike and ride across the country.
I can think of a lot of other ways, but you chose this one. So
Yeah, there's probably some better options.
what do you hope your kids understand about why you did it? What are you
I hope
modeling?
my
What are you modeling for them with this?
I hope my kids understand that nobody in this world is coming to give you permission to live the life you want or the life you dream of. And I hope my kids will see from this and just the way I live my life in general, this whole notion of why not me? Somebody's going to do it. Why not me? Somebody's going to ride their bike from Mexico to Canada to raise $1 million for underserved and overlooked communities and give it all away to the people inside of them. But why not me? Somebody's going to have a ranch. Why not me? Like, I just really want them to know that there's this cliche saying that you can be whatever you want to be, right? Like, there's this whole notion like, whatever you put your mind to, you can achieve. But it's true. Like whatever you put your mind to, you can achieve. And we're incredibly blessed and fortunate to be, born an American citizen and live in the United States and live in the state of Texas and have some resources that provide them some opportunity. Like whatever they want to do, they can achieve. And I just want them to know that with proof, like proof in the pain, proof through the tears, proof through the sweat, through the 3 a.m. training rides, through the commitment and discipline of passing up on other opportunities because of how dedicated I am to this mission. And I want them to know, like, yes, you're going to have to sacrifice. And yes, there will be consequences, but whatever you want to do in your life is achievable.
Was this influenced in any way by Benjamin Hardy's Science of Scaling? Um, and, I mean, because you could have said, like, in mid-2027, right? Like, "I'm gonna take the next year and a half and really train and really be prepared." But you said,
Yeah.
you announced this just a couple months ago and said in a for a lot of people, an unreasonable amount of time. I mean, you're going from, like, 0 miles on the bike to doing this big feat, but you have to
Yeah.
move so many things out of the way to achieve it.
Yeah, I love Ben Hardy, but this mission, I mean, there's a lot of parallels, so I should say yes. But this mission was really inspired by a guy by the name of Matt Johnson. So we were coming off the Banff event for GoBundance, and at that event, I was talking with Matt, who's become a friend, and he was on this mission to run from Oklahoma to Mexico to raise $100,000 for veterans to get them back into community through fitness. And I just felt inspired and like called to the mission of like this man is going to run the entire state of Texas, which by the way is a big state for like a cause bigger than himself for people that he's never going to meet. And so at that event, I was like, man, what could we do as a GoBundance community to show up and support him? And at that event, we were able to raise over $50,000 for Valor Fit, which was the charity he was running for. And I landed back from that event and literally the next morning at 5 a.m. got in my car and drove an hour and a half to go meet him and run with him for a while and present him with this check. And when I met him and we were out on the road, it was like 6:30 in the morning. The sun hadn't even really come up yet. We were in Fredericksburg, Texas, which is just a beautiful part of Texas, and we were just running and he was just telling me about the experiences he was having and the goods, the bads, the waves as he calls them. And I just like was incredibly inspired that somebody would commit that much time, that much energy, and then endure that much pain for a cause bigger than themselves. And I thought to myself, like, what the hell could I do? Like, that's so cool. What could I do? And my first thought was, I'll ride my bike across Texas. And then I kind of sat with that and I was like, well, that dude just ran across Texas. It's kind of weak to just ride your bike across Texas. And so I just had this idea like I'll ride my bike from Mexico to Canada. And the timeline was mostly driven by my family. So 3 young kids, an amazing wife, and my wife and kids spend the entire summer up in Wisconsin. I go back and forth, but they get to have Wisconsin summers with my in-laws and it's just the most beautiful thing. Well, they go up at the beginning of June. And so I was like, wow, it would really time up well if I started this right after Memorial Day. They can pop up to Wisconsin. I can finish in Canada. I can go over to Wisconsin and then I can spend some time with them. And then, like, the compressed timeline of how long we'll be on the ride was again inspired by my kids. Like, so many people have called me and said, you're doing this all wrong. And the first question I asked them is okay, tell me about how you did it when you did this. No, no, no. I've never done this, but from the stands, I'm watching and let me criticize and tell you how you should do it. I'm like, okay, cool. And everybody's like, you're doing this way too fast. 150 miles a day is way too aggressive. You're going to be in so much pain. You're going to defeat the entire purpose of this is like enjoying the journey and seeing the good and hearing the stories. Like, you're doing this all wrong. And I'm like, I don't think you understand. I'm going to be away from my wife and kids for 13 days. Like, my 4-year-old son cries when I leave for a day and I want to cry. So I'm going to do this as quickly as I possibly can, which my crew chief thinks I could go even faster, but I think 150 is plenty. I'm estimating I'll be on the bike for about 10 hours a day. That doesn't include, stopping for fuel or restroom or whatever. And what I've told my team is like, I was just incredibly blessed to be born with an engine that doesn't need a lot of sleep. And so I plan to work 18-hour days while I'm on this thing. Like, some of that time is going to be in recovery. Some of that time is going to be healing my body. But a lot of that time is either going to be on the bike or in these communities, finding the giving opportunities with the GoBundance brothers and saying like, hey, Let's go do that thing for that person we just met. Let's go do that thing for that organization we just got connected to. And I look at this almost like a military deployment. And I know that's like a dramatic way to compare it, but in my mind, I'm like, you are being deployed on this mission for 13 days. You're going to work as hard as you possibly have, endure as much pain as you possibly could imagine. And it's all going to be for 13 days and then it's going to be over. And when you kind of boil it down to that, you're like, well, I could probably experience pretty much anything for 13 days. And so, for me, bringing this timeline all together was mostly around my family, which is what this whole thing really started as, is like, how can I set this example for my kids? How can we make the world a better place? How can we see people and provide opportunity to people that deserve it, that need it, that are often overlooked and missed? And so, yeah, I love Benjamin Hardy's stuff. I absolutely love the book and the concepts of science of scaling. But had I taken this idea to that concept, he probably would have said ride there and back or something even crazier. And I just didn't have the guts to do that.
Curious what lessons you've already learned preparing for this ride. I'm noticing in what know about you. You've talked a lot about from stage, not taking the ready, aim, fire approach, but the ready, fire, aim, or even the fire, aim, ready. But this is so big. You're not, you're not just going to go off the couch and do nothing. So you're definitely preparing. You don't know if you're ready, until you really do it. But just curious what lessons already you've taken from this experience.
The most important lesson I've learned from this whole entire experience so far is like when I put my mind on something, I become so obsessed with it that I can actually achieve whatever I set out to achieve, which is a dangerous thing, by the way, because like you could become so obsessed with like buying a car that you don't really need and like find a way to go get that car and then get the car and be like, damn, I don't really want this car. I didn't really want this car. And now I just spent however much money I spent getting this car. So like, it's been a very interesting thing to watch myself just kind of like hyper focus on this thing. I mean, to put it into context, like I wasn't a cyclist before this. I've biked a bunch as a kid, but that was like to go to lunch with friends or to go to the skate park or to go screw around town. Like, and that was like the one speed trick bikes. And that was really the only context I had when I made this commitment. I wasn't a cyclist. I'd ridden my road bike one time. I had bought that road bike off of Craigslist for $250, and for the last 18 months, it literally sat mounted on the wall in the garage. And when I was at dinner talking to some friends about this commitment, like when it was first real, it just so happened that this guy that we were with was a bike mechanic through college. And he's like, "Oh, that's so cool. What kind of bike do you have?" I was like, "Shit, I don't know." I'm like, "But it's white." He's like, "Oh, when you get home, send it to me. Send me a picture. I'd love to see what you have and help give you some advice." I'm like, "Okay, cool." We got home from dinner and I went to take a picture. The bike was black. It wasn't even white. It's just been on the damn white wall for so long that in my mind, it was all blurred into one big white blob. And like, I think that lesson of like, I can hyper focus and obsess on something is like been a really good reminder. But I think the other thing that I just keep telling people is, the hardest commitment in our life to keep is our word with ourself. The word with ourself that we keep in private and in silence because nobody else is there. Nobody else is there to hold us accountable. Like I've experienced this some mornings training. I'll get on the trainer at 3 a.m. and coach will say, "Hey, today's a 4 hour ride." And 2 hours in, I'm like, I just want to quit. Like my legs hurt. I just want to quit. There's nobody else around. The world's not even awake. And if I quit, like nobody's even going to care. And we're still months away from this thing. Like who cares if I quit? And I've had to like find it deep within me to like to keep my word with myself. But I've also found a hack, which is when you publicly talk about something, the world not only holds you accountable, but it conspires to help you. When I made the commitment to do this publicly, I hadn't even ridden my bike for a mile, for a minute. Like it wasn't even off the damn wall. And I talked about it for 2 weeks before I finally took the bike into the shop to get it tuned up because the tires were so flat that the bike was basically on the rims. And, God forbid I actually have a pump to pump those tires up. Didn't even have that. And the crazy part is, I actually paid more to tune my bike up than I even bought the damn thing from on Craigslist. But when you make a commitment publicly and you tell the world what you're going to do, like you don't give yourself an out because everybody's watching, everybody's talking about it. Every time I see people, it's like, how's the training going? How's the ride? How's the saddle sores? What are you experiencing? What are you feeling? And so like the world is there now to hold me accountable. but also like the world is there to like help me. Like so many people have popped out of the woodwork like, "Hey, I'm not a big time cyclist, but when I did ride, here's what I did. Hey, you should talk to this guy. He's a coach. Hey, you should talk to this guy. He's this guy. Hey, you should talk to like." I've been connected to so many cool people because like everybody's in my corner saying like, "Hey, we want you to succeed." And I just go back to this like it's so hard to keep your word with yourself. And so if you really want to do something, tell the world what you want to do and be like, even if it's just like on social media and you have 5 followers, day one of training to prepare to ride my bike 2,000 miles from Mexico to Canada, day two, day three, day four, day five. And those 5 followers will start telling people. And then those 5 will tell more people. And then those, like, all of a sudden, the next thing you know, you're going to have 10,000 people tuning in and going, like, dude, is he going to train for day 7? Like, I didn't see a video yet. Day 7, I have the flu. It's 11 p.m., but I'm not missing a day. And like all of a sudden, like you have to hold your word because people are like waiting to watch you fail. For some reason, we love watching people fail. Like we love talking about the dropped pass in the Super Bowl or the missed catch on the onside kick. People just love to talk about other people's failures, I think because it makes them feel better about themselves. And so now all of a sudden you have all these birds chirping, going like, is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? And then you get the opportunity to look in the mirror and go like, I am a man of my word. I am going to do it. And guess what? If I fail, I'm going to fail publicly. I'm going to fail boldly. I'm going to fail confidently, but I'm not really going to fail because I'll just try again a different time. Like I'll just keep going. And I think that's really like the most important thing to take into consideration.
My biggest takeaway from that goes back to another thing I heard you say months ago, which is having a vision big enough that others can see
Mm.
themselves in it. And you mentioned doing something bigger than yourself. And I wonder, because there's two pieces here. There's the ride of you being on
Yeah.
the bike, right? And that is what
Yeah.
you're describing. And then there's well, if I quit, I also quit on this mission of doing something bigger than myself. And so how does that also push you? I mean, do you think about that when you're doing the 4-hour ride? Like, it's not just about yourself, it's about the bigger impact you're gonna have.
Yeah. Every day. Every day I wake up, I go to get out of bed. I'm like, damn, I don't want to train today. And I just like create a story in my mind. I'm like, somewhere in Texas, there's a single mom with 3 jobs and 3 kids. She doesn't have a car, so she takes the bus or Uber to every single one of those, which causes her to be away from her kids for an extra 2 hours a day waiting for the bus or waiting for the Ubers. If you don't train today, you lose the opportunity to gift her the keys to a brand new car and bring her closer to her kids. I mean, like when you start to play that story in your mind, there's no chance I'm not getting on the bike to train that day. So, like, literally every time I don't want to do something, I just create a narrative in my head of like, what are these stories going to be? And whether they're real or not, I don't know yet. But I sense somebody out there is experiencing this because, like, I've heard of these stories. I've seen these stories. I've seen these people. I know these people. And so I'm like, I know these stories exist. Now the question is just like, can I find this specific one, which I'm not attached to? It's just, I constantly am thinking about like somewhere along this route, somebody right now is looking in the mirror with tears rolling down their face, going like, I don't know if I'm worthy. I don't know if I'm capable. I don't want to do this anymore. And when I ride through the town and I find that damn person and I give them the high five and we give them whatever they need in that moment and we show them that they're loved and they deserve to be seen and they deserve to be heard, will they look in the mirror with a smile the next day? And if so, like, wow, like how cool is that? And then, like, I even think about this, like, how cool would it be if some stranger watches a piece of the content from this? Because we're going to drop vlogs every single day from the day prior. So, how cool would it be if a stranger sees this and they, rather than driving through a community, stop at the gas station that looks dilapidated and say, hey, what's going on? Like, well, we used to have a really thriving business and they built that flyover, that highway right there. And we've been struggling ever since. But granddad founded this thing and I'm going to figure out a way to make it successful. Like, what do you need? Ah, man, I have no idea how I'm going to pay rent this month. How much is rent? $700. Like, you know what? Here you go. Here's $700. I don't need you to touch my car. I don't need gas. I don't need anything. Like, just don't worry about rent this month. Like, go figure out how to grow the business or go figure out how to spend a little bit more time with your family or go bless somebody else. Like if a stranger watches this and feels inspired to buy a coffee, give a high five, give a hug, stop and ask somebody like, "What's your story?" Like that ripple effect is real. And like that would be really, really cool to see. And none of it's possible unless I ride the damn bike. So I keep thinking in my head, the bike is really the Trojan horse to making these communities better, to spotlighting these communities, to providing impact directly to these people. Like the bike's just the vehicle. Like there's like a selfish side of the bike. Like I really just want to see how much pain I can push myself through. Like that's the selfish side. But in reality, like the bike is just to get people interested enough to follow along and hopefully donate or come out and help or nominate a story and just provide support, from their couch, from their phone, from their YouTube, like wherever they're watching and say like, "Hey, we see what you're doing. Like, how can we help?" And even if that's like criticizing me and telling me how I'm not going to make it, like that is help too. Like however people show up is going to serve and help the mission. And the mission is all about just helping people who deserve to be.
Yeah. I believe everyone deserves to live a life well lived, whatever that means. And you and I mean, to different degrees, everyone within GoBundance is successful, but that doesn't necessarily translate to that they've lived a life well lived. A lot of guys falling apart physically, their relationships are not great, right? Maybe their businesses are doing really well. I'm curious personally for you, and then we can kind of broaden it out to what you've learned from working with hundreds of entrepreneurs and business owners. But for you, Matt, what does a life well lived look like?
I recognized when I attended a funeral 2 years ago that you will never see a U-Haul following a hearse to the graveyard. Like there is no scenario where somebody's assets and the shit they have accumulated through their lifetime follows them to the grave. The only thing that follows people to their grave is their family, their friends, and the moments and the experiences and the stories that they created along the way. So, what I look for when I think about living a life well lived, it's all about chasing return on joy. Like, how much joy can I bring to my family and my friends and myself? Like, literally this weekend, we had a group of family friends out. They have 4 kids. We have 3 kids. The girls were running around with the mini pony. My son and the other daughter were on swings playing endlessly. We were all just sitting on the porch in rocking chairs watching it all. And it was like that day is a day I'll never forget. And like that's what a life well lived looks like. It's like chasing memories, chasing moments for the people closest to me and the people who aren't. Like just for anybody. Like, how can I create moments and memories for people? Because I know that someday when I'm put in the ground or cremated and thrown in an oven, like the only thing that will go with me is those moments, those memories, those stories. And those will last for the lifetime of those that I've made them with. And like that to me is what living a life well lived looks like.
A word we don't use a lot is play. I was just in a chat of dads, about 500 of them, and they were talking about teaching their kids stock market investing. And a couple guys were saying, my 5-year-old and 7-year-old are, they're more financially literate than most adults and whatnot. And I was just remarking to my fiance last night, um, when can we let kids be kids? You know,
Yeah,
you have a
totally.
6-year-old, 4-year-old, and 1-year-old, like, I think, when they look at you, I mean, as you said, they'll remember a lot more what you modeled than what you say, but, I think kids are losing their childhood a bit, and, I see it, especially entrepreneurs, you know, pushing them in the direction that maybe they wish they'd had, or they're successful in this way, so they're transposing that on their kids. What's your philosophy around, I mean, Fambundance does a great job of empowering kids, but also kinda takes this business-like approach to child raising.
I mean, look, I think having core values as a family is one of the most important things you can do. But I think most people get it wrong. They set core values as parents and then try to like impose them onto their children. Now, if we really put ourselves in the seat of the child or our own shoes when we were a child, what are we really seeking? All we're really seeking is acceptance, love, and safety. And so when I hear guys talk about like, yeah, my 7-year-old's obsessed with the stock market, like I also hear your 7-year-old has realized a way to receive your approval and your love and your attention is to talk about the stock market. Like now there are some like 7-year-olds that are really into the stock market. Like, and if that is your kid, badass, I was wrong, my bad. But in general, like most kids want to play Barbies and run around outside and chase things and have fun and climb trees and do stuff. And I think like you're spot on in saying like, can't we just let kids be kids? And I would just take that a little bit further and say like, can't we as adults just be kids too? Like, why does life have to not be fun? Why do we have to take it so seriously? Like, I truly think we're only here once. I don't know that as a fact, but I truly believe we are only here once. And if you think about the grand scheme of the universe, we're here for a very short amount of time. And time is this incredible thing because it's the most important asset any one of us has, but it's the only asset we don't truly know the balance of. Like, God forbid I get hit by a drunk driver tonight driving home. I go home at 5. So if there's a drunk driver, we've got serious issues. But like, if I get hit, like today could be it. And like, would I be proud of how I'm spending the last day of my life? Like, would I be proud with how I spent yesterday? Would I be proud with how I spent Saturday? Like, and so I think you're right. Yeah, I do think that it's not a bad thing to talk about business, but I think it's more of like a subconscious programming rather than a conscious programming. Like when I'm in the car and I'm on a business call, I'm always on speakerphone. And that was a lesson I learned from one of the GoBundance members whose kids are now running his business. And they're just like such down to earth good kids. Like I mean they're like grown adults now, but I call them kids. And it's not even like I didn't even label them successful. I didn't even label them like business oriented. Like they're just kind and humble. Like they're just really good people. And I said, "Hey John, how did you do it?" He's like, there was never a conversation that I didn't include them in. If I was in the car and we needed to go to the bank, they were sitting in the loan officer's office. If I was in the car and we were on a call firing somebody, they heard about it. We talked about it. We shared what we felt and what we saw and what we heard. Not to say like you have to be successful in business, but to say like here are the life lessons that come along with business. Like this is just a container that's going to give you these lessons. And so, it's really my belief of like creating an environment where my kids can pursue whatever desires they have, whatever their passion is. If it's business, awesome, let's talk about it. If it's ranching, awesome, let's talk about it. If it's sports, awesome, let's talk about it. If it's music, awesome, let's talk about it. Like I don't care. I just want them to chase their passions. And so I want to show them everything. I want to talk about everything. I want to ask them a million questions, but ultimately, it's my job to protect them without killing their spirit. Like they have a spirit inside of them, like a fire, like this burning light. And it's just my job to be guardrails for them and let them like chase that, see what it's like. I mean, and at times they're going to touch the stove and they're going to get burned. And it's my job then to love them, to help them heal, and then to ask them, like, what did we learn from that? Will we touch the stove again? Why was it a good decision? Why was it a bad decision? But I think, like, going back to it, it's like really as parents, if we can help our kids identify their core values, I think we can parent better than we could ever imagine. And, I did this when literally my daughter was 2. We were in bed one night and I used to do this crazy thing. So my daughter was reckless. Like she was the kid that climbed out of her crib in her sleep sack at like, less than 2 years old, opened the closet door and scaled the closet like in her like she's just different. Like she's just wild. And so I used to climb in the crib with her literally and read stories with her and tell her and like talk to her. And one night I asked her just a simple question. I said, "Rylan, what do kings do?" Because our last name is King. And she said, "We're brave." And like, I just sat there and thought like, holy shit, like what a core value. Like kings are brave. I'm like, what else do kings do? She's like, "We're kind." I'm like, oh my gosh, like kind, like how is this 2-year-old like telling me these things? Right. And then I asked her one more time and she said, "We win." And I was like, okay, literally to this day, we talked to her about those 3 core values. And one day when she was probably 5 years old, I watched her go to our 3-year-old son, he was 3 at the time, and he was really nervous to do something. They were literally going to go into the backyard to jump on the trampoline, and he was afraid to go without us. And she like grabbed his hand and said, "Bodhi, I'll be there with you. Kings are brave." I like as a parent, like what else do I need from my life? Like you could have just let me die in that moment and I would have been like, I could die a happy human. Like watching my 5-year-old daughter tell my 3-year-old son at the time, like her core value for her life, which is kings are brave. I like it just I think just like letting our kids have space to create what their core values are rather than saying like, these are our core values. It's printed on the wall. You're going to abide by them. Like, look, I love talking about them. I love having them on the wall, but like make sure they're your kids. Like even my wife and I have different core values. Like I love to win. She doesn't care about winning. Like, she doesn't care at all. Like, she loves order and, like, a very strict and tight schedule. I don't like that. Like, I'm okay with being flexible and flying by the seat of my pants. And so, like, who are we as parents to say to our children, "These are the core values. This is how you're gonna live your life." Like, let's create a container where they can self-discover their core values. Now, if they're terrible core values, like, of course, like, my core value is to steal. Like, yeah, we gotta have a conversation. That's when we step into the role as parents. But so long as you're having the conversations around like who you are, what you stand for, what you stand against, like they're not going to say that. So let them create their own core values and then hold them accountable to their core values. Hey, Rylan, you said kings are brave. Yeah, you're right. Let me go do this thing. Like literally did that when we went and took her to get her ears pierced. She was super scared. Like, I want to do it. I want to do it. I want to do it. We get there. She sees the needle. She's like, don't want to do it. Don't want to do it. Don't want to do it. I'm like, hey, Rye, we absolutely do not have to do this. We can totally leave if you don't want to do this. Well, let me ask you a question. You said kings were brave. Is this an opportunity to be brave? Like, all right, I'll do it. And like she did it, like because it was her core value, and she's like, I'm gonna own this. So, yeah, I think we just have to be careful about um, how we imprint on our children because at the end of the day, I believe they just really want acceptance, love, and safety. And if, we try to push business on them too much and they're not business minded people, they'll accept it for a certain amount of time. But at some point, they're going to break and rebel. And I think it would be pretty ugly.
Yeah, I think it goes for adults too. And I'd like to dive into that. I think there's a lot of guys who are doing something that they're very good at. They're very successful in, but they're not necessarily super passionate about, and it's not something bigger than themselves. So I wanna touch on that. But when you were talking, there's a great song that didn't get a lot of plays, I think, like back in 2012, Alicia Keys on the Girl on Fire album. There's a great song called Not Even the King. And I think your daughter would really, really like it. It says, I just pulled up the lyrics and it says, some people are so poor, all they've got is money. Some people waste their life counting their thousands. I don't care what they're offering, how much gold they bring. They can't afford what we've got, not even the king.
Wow. I'm going to have to look at that because we do. There's a lot of times where we played This Girl is on Fire for our daughter. Like when she was doing something crazy, she loved that song. So I'm going to have to look at that. That is powerful. And it's so true. Like I think we are taught in society that once you have money, then you'll be happy. Once you have money, then you'll be healthy. Once you have money, then you can figure it all out. In reality, like money is literally nothing more and nothing less than energy. Like it's the same as oxygen, it's the same as water. Like the more you allow it to flow through you, I believe the more it will flow to you. And it's just a thing. Like it's not gonna call and wish you happy birthday. It's not gonna pat you on the back when you're having a bad day. It's not even gonna answer your emails. It's a tool, and a tool is good. It's good to have tools, but you just have to be careful of thinking that that one tool is gonna solve everything.
Yeah. So for someone listening who wants to do something meaningful but feels
Mhm.
stuck, what's that first uncomfortable step they should take?
The first step I believe is really recognizing that being stuck is a choice. Like when you are stuck, you are choosing to stay stuck. Now, in the moment, it's really hard to recognize that. But if you literally just take a piece of paper and write down every single thing you did that day, and then at the end of the day, you look over that piece of paper, you will see that the choices you're making are causing you to feel stuck. Like it might be wake up, hit snooze on my alarm 2 times, rush out of the house because I'm going to be late to the office, stop at Starbucks and buy a $9 cup of coffee that's not even that good, get into the office 5 minutes late. Like, all of these things are what are actually helping you stay stuck, but they're choices. And so I think the first thing you have to do is recognize that like being stuck is just a choice. And once you recognize that, you can then say, I either want to continue to choose this, which if that's your choice, great, just don't complain about it to me, or hey, I want to choose something different. And if you want to choose something different, I tell people all the time is like, create 3 simple things you're gonna do every single day for the next 27 days. Like, that's it. 3 simple things. First one's make your bed. What are number 2? What are number 3? And, like, don't make them super hard. It's like this whole concept of, like, haven't run a mile in my life. Or no, let me give you a better example. I haven't cycled an hour in my life. Let me go ride my bike across the country. Like, I'm not saying do that. I'm saying, like, if you wanna run a marathon, well, let's first say, let's run a 5K, and then let's go to a 10K, and then maybe let's go to a half, and then maybe let's go to a full. But if you look it up online, like, there's a couch to 5K program, and it's not like day 1, run a 5K. It's like day 1, walk outside. Day 2, walk to the end of the driveway and back. Day 3, walk around the block. Day 4, jog to the end of the driveway. Day 5, rest. Like, and by like day 30, it's like jog a mile. It's like it's this long process. And so I think in life, you have to look at it the same. Like, we overestimate what we can accomplish in 1 year, but grossly underestimate what we can accomplish in 5. And so if you just say, like, hey, what are 3 things I can commit to every day for the next 27 days? That, I think, will breed the momentum in your life that will allow you to say, okay, now what do I want to go do that's hard? Like, let me clear my head. Let me clear the slate. Let me commit to the discipline of these 3 simple things. And then from there, let's talk about doing something hard. And, like, if you're a Starbucks goer every day, maybe choice 1 is make your bed. Maybe choice 2 is make coffee at home. Like, okay, cool. Like, 2 of the 3 things for every single day for the next 27 days. Well, what's the next one? Maybe it's avoid hitting snooze on your alarm. Maybe it's wake up 20 minutes earlier. Maybe it's wake up 5 minutes earlier. Maybe it's wake up 2 minutes earlier. Like, I don't care what it is. But if you do those 3 things every day and literally have them on a piece of paper next to your sink, right by where you brush your teeth, and every day you put a check mark, like, you'll get a hit of dopamine, and by the end, you'll look at it and go, like, holy shit, I'm on fire. Like Alicia Keys would be saying. And then you'll say, okay, now what do I want to do that's hard? And I think people think like doing something hard has to be this big dramatic thing. And it really doesn't. Like, it could be as simple as running a half marathon. It could be as simple as like raising money to give away 10 turkeys for Thanksgiving. It could be as simple as like finding a family in need and buying them Christmas presents. It could be as dramatic as riding your bike from Mexico to Canada. Like, whatever hard is for you is hard. Like, it's not for me to determine. It's not for you to, it's like only for the human to determine.
I can tell you're always quoting books and quotes and people you've met, and so you're not like a just a lifelong learner. You're like a daily learner. You're always taking things in. You're like a sponge, just always taking things in. And you mentioned this ride was inspired by someone running, a GoBundance member. You've spent a lot of time with the GoBundance Elders, Pat and Dave and Tim and Mike McCarthy. I'm curious if you could single out or just broadly some lessons, tips, habits for each of them, because each of them has a very different persona and personality and emphasis. And I'd love wherever you want to start, but just from the elders, what have you taken? Because you've obviously brought a lot to the organization, but I wonder what you've learned
Yeah.
from it.
Man, it's amazing because like that group of men and GoBundance in general has been like my second family. Like, I have an incredible dad and incredible mom that did an amazing job of raising like version 1 of me. But then like version 2 of me was sort of like raised and formed by these elders and by GoBundance and these men, like these successful men doing hard things, living lives on purpose. And if I had to like really boil it down, like each one of them brings such a unique perspective, like you said. Like, if I looked at Mike McCarthy, he's an incredible example of like having family meetings, like family conversations. What's working? What's not working? Are we embodying our core values? Are we not embodying our core values? Like, what do we have coming up? What do we want to do? What don't we want to do? Like, the family meeting concept from him is just absolute gold. And as my kids keep getting a little older, I realize just how much of an important part of our lives that will play. Then I look at Tim Road. I mean, like, that guy's like motto is getting the goods in the woods. Like, if you want to see a grown ass man living life like a kid, just like watch Tim's life. Like, he's gonna ski 100 and some times this year. He doesn't care what's on his calendar. Like, he loves to ski, and he's just like always happy. Like, he's always just got this joy for life because he realizes like what truly matters is like what lights him up, which is skiing, like getting the goods in the woods. And so, like, he's really taught me to like just embrace that inner child, if you will. If you look at Pat, man, Pat has this like never ending curiosity. Like you're talking about a guy who is financially free, incredibly successful, that was driving a pedicab around South Carolina just to meet people and to hear stories. Like, what a curious human. And like his endless curiosity was like given to me at a very young age. Pat was actually the first one I met. And he literally gave me the book As a Man Thinketh, like a couple weeks into working for him. And he said, like, here, I think this book is really good. I used to keep it in the visor of my car and I would read it at stoplights. And I was like, you did what? I'm like, are you crazy? And, like, I still have that damn book today. And he didn't even, like, really remember that story, and I sent him a picture the other day. He wrote this incredible, like, handwritten note in the front of it that, like, I think truly changed my life. It was like, "Hey, dude, this book changed my life. I used to read it at stop signs. I didn't just read these words, I embraced them. I was curious about them, and they've changed my life. I think it might work for you." I did it, and it worked. Like, holy shit. And then if I look at, like, David, I mean, that's who I've spent the most time with because in addition to GoBundance, I run his family office. I mean, that guy and his wife were the first people to meet our children. He married us. His daughter was the flower girl. His son was the ring bearer. Like, I mean, he's him and I are very, very close. And like, we could literally go through this whole podcast talking about the lessons I learned from him, and I wouldn't touch on all of them. But the most important one he gave me was this concept of why not me. And I'll never forget, we were driving to Dallas one day and we were coming up to this hill. And he looked at me, he's like, man, when I was young and I was building my real estate empire up here, every time I came up on this hill, you'll notice that when we get to the top, the whole like skyline of Dallas will expose itself. And he's like, every time that happened, I would like immediately feel this like tenseness in my body and like start asking myself like who am I to go try to tackle that city? Who am I to build the number one real estate brokerage in this city? Like there's so many people older, more successful, like with more resources, with more knowledge, with more power. And he said one day I was making that drive and instead of asking like, you know, why shouldn't I or why I couldn't, he just said I said to myself like why not me? Somebody's going to own the number one real estate brokerage in this metroplex, why not me? He's like, every time I came over that hill, I just said, why not me? Why not me? And so like, that's a way I live my life. Like even like so much so that you heard it earlier in the podcast. Like it's something I'm trying to instill in my kids. It's something I try to live every single day. Like, and he gave me that one nugget on that morning. And again, probably doesn't even remember he said it, but like, I try to be a sponge, like you said, and I try to absorb everything. And really, I try everything. Like, let me put this on. If it works for me, great, I'll keep it. If it doesn't, I'll just send it back. And those are really the lessons that those guys have given.
Awesome. You talk to a lot of really successful men. How many of them do you think could physically do something like the ride or, an adventure like this?
You know, I really think if anybody committed at the level that I've committed to, they could do it. I've gone 100 miles deep into learning about cycling, learning about bikes, learning about my body, my mind, the recovery process, fueling my body. Like, I really think anybody could do it. The thing that I think I have an advantage of is I think most people aren't crazy enough to commit to doing. Like most people wouldn't actually have the courage to do it, but I truly think anybody could do it. This isn't a race. Like I'm not trying to win a race. Like if it was trying to win the Olympics, like yeah, that's different. Like I don't know. But like there is no like finish time. Like you have to finish by this time or you fail. Like there is nobody I'm chasing. Like this is my own journey. Yeah, I've committed to trying to get this done in 13 days, but like if it takes me 14, who cares? Like if it takes me 17, who cares? Like life will go on, right? And so I really think anybody could do it, but I don't think most will have the courage to commit to something so scary because they just start to see the yellow lights. I mean, most people, they're red lights, but for me, they're yellow lights. And they'll use that as a story or a narrative as why they shouldn't do it. And I literally, in my journal, it's in my backpack, I literally have a page in my journal and the top of it says receipts. And every time somebody has told me why I shouldn't do this, how I can't do this, why this is a bad idea, I've wrote the date, their name, and what they've said. And I'm not doing it from a place of like spite. I'm doing it from a place of like when I want to quit, I have something to go to and say like, "Oh yeah, how did that make me feel when he told me that? Do I want him to be right or do I want my word to myself to be right?" Okay, keep riding. Keep pedaling. Keep going. And it's hilarious cuz I was looking for some advice from people who have done something similar. And so there's like a Facebook group, like there's for everything, about people who have done like across the country type rides on their bike. And so I made a post and they're like, hey guys, I started training in December, May 27th. I'm doing this thing. Here's what it's for. Like, just looking for any advice. Some of the people have given me incredible advice. Like one guy's like, bring a different saddle, which I still don't know why they call bike seat saddles, but he's like, bring a different saddle because when you start to get sore, sometimes having a different shape of a saddle will put pressure in a different spot. And like that could be all the relief you need that day to get through it. I'm like, dude, that's brilliant. Never would have thought of that. But then some people are like, this can't be real. Get another goal. You're going to fail. 150 miles not achievable. You have no idea what you're doing. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, thank you so much for all that input. And you know what? Y'all might be right, but I don't think so. And I'm not going to listen to it. Like, I'm just going to keep doing me. And I think like it's just it's just fascinating to me how truly capable we are as humans. And so like to your question, I really think if anybody put their mind to it, they could do it. The question is, are they willing to sacrifice what they're going to have to sacrifice in order to prepare? And do they have the courage to actually make the commitment? I mean, there aren't many people I know that sleep for 4 hours and train for 5 hours on a bike at 3 a.m. Like, there aren't many people that are wired to be able to accept that. And I'm just fortunate so far to be one of those people that can.
One of the other things you talk about a lot is the who, not the how. And you've alluded to it, but you know, you're CEO of a group of many lone wolves. And one of the things I see in you is like, how can I delegate this to the right person as quickly as possible, right? And so like you could plan your nutrition and your training and everything, but you've hired a team around you to support you in that. And I think that is a great model for, you know, for everything, not just training for an event, but, you know, focus on, you know, riding 4 hours a day is enough for you to focus on. You don't need to worry about all the other things, planning the routes and everything. How does that resonate?
I just realize in our life, we rise and fall to the level of the people we surround ourselves with. And that's not to say, like, if your friends aren't doing what you want to do, that you have to ignore them. Like, you can't be with them. But it is to say, like, if your friends are living a life that you don't aspire to live, be mindful of when they invite you out for beers on Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night of saying yes. Like, if that's the life you want, great, go for it, have a blast. But if that's not what you want and yet you keep choosing it, well, remember, being stuck is just a choice. And so I think like we really can rise to the level of the people we surround ourselves with. And I've just found in my life, I don't have to have all the answers. I don't even have to have a damn clue about what I'm doing. I just have to find the right who. Like, who can get me ready? Who has done something like this? Who has been here before? Let me ask them. And so when I was running with Matt Johnson that morning, his crew chief, Rob, was this like incredible drill sergeant. Like, Matt was sitting there telling me some stories, and Rob's like, shut up, we got to go. I'm like, dude, that guy's badass. And he's like, you have 3 more minutes, then we got to go. You have 2 more minutes. And like, he was just like a drill sergeant. He was incredibly disciplined. But I also was trying to coordinate with him on like meeting up with Matt. And he was an incredible like communicator, route planner, protector of Matt's time, Matt's energy, Matt's space. Like, he just was really like, he had his shit together. So I just called him when I had this idea, like right after I literally had the idea while Matt was still running. I'm like, well, I'm not going to disrupt what they're doing. I'll wait till he's done. So as soon as he was done, I messaged him. I'm like, hey, dude, met you when I was running with Matt. I got a crazy idea. Do you have time for a call? And I think he just thought I was like some, blowhard or something, because he kind of like pawned me off or like kicked me down the curb a little bit. But I actually showed up for the call. And I was like, hey, I got this crazy idea and I want to know if you'd be the crew chief for it. And he's like, dude, like, are you serious? I'm like, well, I wouldn't call you if I wasn't serious. Now, he didn't know me, so he wouldn't know to know that. But he's like, well, it's the craziest thing. When you came out to run with us, he's like, you had that big GoBundance check with the donation. He's like, you gave us a bunch of GoBundance shirts and hats and stuff because you told us we probably didn't have time to shower, which was true. He's like, I didn't have a chance to say it in that moment, but he's like, when I was deployed, somebody had given me the book Tribe of Millionaires, and I read that book while on a submarine. And he's like, I came home and literally put GoBundance membership on my vision board. And he's like, I don't know of like whether to believe you or think I'm in a dream or just say yes and we'll figure this all out, because he's like, I can't believe this is how my world is unfolding. And so he signed up to be the crew chief. Another crazy story is like, I wanted somebody along the journey with us that can do body work, because I have a sense that like a double ruptured Achilles tendon in my right leg a couple of years ago isn't going to help me on this journey. It's going to probably cause some issues. So I just want somebody there that can be like, all right, let me work on your leg, let me work on your shoulder, let me work on your back. Like I've got some issues. And so I just started like talking about what I was doing. I'm like, here's what I'm looking for. Here's what I'm looking for. This girl who used to be the nanny for us followed along on the journey of the story of the ride, and all of a sudden her husband reaches out to me and he's like, hey, I'm currently an athletic trainer at a high school. I want to get into the personal development and coaching stuff. I've been following what you've done. I've been listening to all your podcasts. I heard you said you needed somebody that can do body work. Like, what do I have to do to apply? I was like, I mean, there's nobody else that's applied, so you just have to say you want to do this. So, like, now he's coming with us. Like, they just had their second baby, and his wife's like, "Absolutely go for this. Like, absolutely. This is gonna change our life. This is gonna change our lives. Like, go for this." So he's coming along. And, my coach, my cycling coach, first time I talked to him, I'm like, "Okay, so essentially I asked him, why should I listen to you?" He's like, "Well, I race professionally and I'm training for the Olympics." I'm like, "All right, great. Noted. If you're training for the Olympics on a bike and I don't know jack about cycling, I will listen to whatever you tell me to do." And like he's just been an incredible aid. And when we were up at the Breckenridge event, turns out he lives an hour away from me. And he's like, "Hey, let me get a bike from one of the guys on my professional team. Let me bring it to the hotel with you for you with a trainer so that you don't have to miss these 5 days while you're here. And I'd love to meet you in person." Like, are you serious? Like, sure. So like there I am meeting my coach in my hotel room, riding my bike in the hotel on a bike that he literally drove down to me and drove back to pick up. Like, how lucky is that? Like, how cool is that? And like it's just about surrounding yourself with the right people that can help you be successful. But the other thing I would say is like I'm surrounded by a lot of people that will help me be successful because all of them will tell me what I need to hear, not what I want to hear. Like Rob has already like chewed me out about eating, about fuel, about how I'm going to listen to him and do whatever he says. Like Joey has already chewed me out about my watt output and my RPMs and what I'm doing wrong on the bike. He's already chewed me out about getting a bike fit and going to figure out my seat and doing all this stuff. Like these people really want to see me succeed. They have all the knowledge and all the wisdom to help me, but they're like, you said you wanted to do this, so we're just going to tell you what you need to hear, not necessarily what you want to hear. And I think like that's the missing link for a lot of people. They're like, hey, I'm surrounded by the right people. I have a coach, I have mentors, I have friends, I have a mastermind group. But it's like you talk to their coach, you're like, dude, this is the nicest guy in the world. Like, he's never gonna chew you out. Like, hey man, I think these friends are badass. They're great at golf. This is really fun. But like, they just told you it was a good shot and it's in the water. Like, these aren't people that are gonna help you go to the next level. And so I think it's about, finding people that have been there before, but that then are willing to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was thinking when you were saying you had that list of people who the naysayers, right? I don't know
Yeah.
what do you call that list? Do you have a name?
The receipts. All my receipts. Yeah, those are my
And I
receipts.
was wondering if you were balancing that kind of the yin and yang with like your cheerleaders, and then you just kind of poked, you just blew that away that it's cheerleaders are those who tell you what you want to hear, and that's not really that useful, right? It's more useful to have people who tell you what you need to hear.
No, I mean, dude, even the other night, like, I shouldn't even say this, but, like, the other night, my wife and I were talking, and she's like, "I'm really excited for the bike ride. I think it's gonna be really cool. I think it's really gonna provide some really cool impact for people. I think it's gonna be good for our kids." She's like, "But I think this whole thing has been really selfish on your part." I was like, "Oh, shit. Okay, like, why?" She's like, "Well, you're, like, training at 3 in the morning and this and this and this." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So, like, I take that into consideration, and then yesterday, I was like, "You know what? I'm not gonna train today. Like, I'm gonna take the kids out of the house before she wakes up so she can sleep in a little bit more. I'm gonna take the kids all day so she can do whatever she wants to do because she might be right. Like, I might be being a little selfish by the amount of time and energy I have to commit to this." Now, in the moment when she said that, man, I wanted to, like, jump across the room and be like, "Oh, if you think this is selfish, raising $1,000,000 for people, like, I'm out of here." But I was like, "Okay, okay." She's like, "You don't wanna talk about it?" I didn't, because I needed to process it. I was like, "Damn, that's a heavy thing to say." And as I sat there with it, I was like, "You know what? She's not wrong." Like, I haven't prioritized her through this whole thing as much as I should. So, yesterday morning, 3 kids and me were going through the grocery store, getting a donut, came to the ranch, hung around the ranch all day, got home, put the baby down, sent her off with a friend, took the other kids. I mean, I had a great day. I was exhausted, by the way, but I had a great day. And she, like, I think she saw that, like, what she said to me really mattered and it really impacted. And it wasn't what I wanted to hear, it was what I needed to hear.
Yeah. I want to finish up with a few shorter answer questions, and I'm going to actually segue off of what you just said. And if your wife listens to this and listens this far, what is something you do like routinely, habitually, a habit that makes you a great husband?
If she's listening, she'd probably say nothing. But, in reality, I think it's just creating moments, like understanding like the power of moments. And I don't get really flustered or stressed by things. I just kind of am a yes guy to whatever shows up. And like most of that is around like moments like, hey, can we go here? Sure. Hey, can we do this? Yeah. Hey, can my family? Yes. Like whatever we need to do, I do it to create moments. And I think for her, like memories and moments with friends and family are really, really important to her. And so I like intentionally live a life to try to create those.
Of that, making memories has been a slogan for me for the last 20 years. Just turning activities into memories doesn't take much if
And
you
it's not hard.
prioritize it.
It's not hard.
What's something you believe that most people disagree with?
I would say that, nobody's coming to give you permission. I think most people think, like, a degree, certain financial status, certain mentors, certain coaches, certain peers is, like, the sign of when they can actually start doing the thing. I believe there is no such thing. Like, there's no permission, there's no degrees, there's no titles, there's no amount of money. Like, if you wanna do something, there's only one person that needs to give you permission, and that's yourself.
What's the best advice you've ever received about money?
Money is just energy. The more that I allow it to flow through me, the more that it will flow to me.
Regarding GoBundance, what's one thing people misunderstand about the group?
People think it's just a group of rich people getting together to talk about how to make more money. There's almost like never a conversation about money. I mean, like, look, money is just a tool. A guy at the country club I used to work at called it a dirty piece of paper, and he's not wrong. I think people think that, oh, that's a bunch of rich guys getting together to go ski and do epic stuff and talk about making more money. In reality, it's a bunch of really cool guys getting together who happen to have success financially, saying like, how can I be a better husband? How can I be a better father? How can I lead my team better? How can I give more to the community or the church I'm in? Like, how can I create more moments and more memories? I mean, I think that's the coolest thing about what we're up to.
Slogan is grab life big. The final question, getting back to the ride. If this ride humbles you in ways you don't expect, what do you think it'll teach you about yourself?
I think it's already humbled me in ways that I didn't expect. And I think the thing that it's already taught me and it will continue to teach me is that somewhere along the lines in my life, I thought in order to live the life I had dreamed of, I had to like let go of the fun and softer side of myself. And I think there's a side of who I truly am that has like this great capacity for like helping everybody. And you'll still see it a little bit show up, but it's always in like a business arena. And I think I've just kind of like put my emotions and my empathy and my fun on the back burner and said, like, I'll do that when I get there. I'll do that someday. And I think what this ride is going to teach me and what it already has taught me and what it will continue to show me is like, you can try as hard as you want to cover your heart with a shield and armor, but like that heart is what makes you you. So like lean into it. Like it's okay to cry. Like I couldn't even tell you the last time I cried. I'm sure it'll be on this ride, but I couldn't even tell you the last time. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to tell somebody you're sad. It's okay to feel scared. It's okay to tell somebody you're scared. I think that's the thing that's going to keep resonating with me.
Awesome. Matt, thanks so much for spending time with me today. Any closing words?
Man, thank you for what you're doing. I just think the more that we can have honest and vulnerable conversations like the ones you have here, the better the world will be. And just, you're serving and helping so many people that listen to this. And I know having a podcast, sometimes you can feel like you're shouting from a mountaintop and nobody can hear it. But, uh, you know, I know that people listen and their lives are better because of it. So just thank you for everything you're doing.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. Thanks for spending time with me today. Seriously, there are a lot of voices out there, and I don't take it lightly that you chose this one. If today's episode was useful, leave a review, share it with someone in your circle, and come find me at factfueledfitness.com. A clarity call is just 15 minutes, and it might change the next decade. I'm Dr. Michael Donovan, and this has been Fact Fueled Fitness. The work doesn't stop here, it starts here.